11 months later, and yes, the Corner Creatives did it. The Corner Creatives have conquered. The Corner Creatives have beat the odds. Who would have thought? We've just been nominated for Podcast of the Year by the Dstv Content Creators Awards. To vote for us, please make sure to look just below. Just pause this video, vote for us, and you can vote for us as many times as you want. It is free, so please share it with other Corner Creatives. This time, this award is for everyone who creates.
Don't just sell the artwork that's on the wall, because not everybody can afford to buy that. You must make smaller items that if people come into the show, they're able to afford something for like 100 Rand, 500 Rand, so that they take away something from your show. And it's not just, you know, them coming in and realizing, oh damn, I can't afford that, so I'm not gonna buy anything. You need to be smart enough to say, okay, cool, I gotta cater to the masses. I gotta cater to the big buyer who's gonna spend like 20,000 Rand on an art piece. And then I gotta do like a small piece that's framed for probably like 5,000 or for 1,000 Rand, so that when you walk away, you're like, okay, cool, I went to Austin's show and I've got something to show for it, instead of just saying, oh, I went to Austin's show and it was dope.
From Corner Juta De Beer, imina umsindisi wesizwe, umvelisi mnqango umelisi wesizwe, formerly known as Lwazi Madonsela, bringing you a show about creative entrepreneurs live from the landmark that not only birth SA street culture but also formalize the street hustle. On today's episode, we have
Austin Malema, Corner Juta De Beer, special edition. Cindy's just saying, thank God for the savings. I'm with a father figure in the game, the man carrying all the photographers in South Africa, a game changer, Mr. Moneymaker. Commercials, he's got you. Corporate, he's got you. You on a personal level, but you gotta be like a superstar in the US, you know, makeup brands, and every sphere.
What an intro.
Of the photography business, he's there. Whether he needs to handle a marquee, he's there. A stadium, he's there. And he might not even be there. You somewhat Coca-Cola now, you know? You got your subsidiaries. Austin Malema, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh, damn, I gotta clap for that, because yo, I listen to the intros, and I gotta tell the people that I said you're gonna hit me with the intro, you're gonna do like the pre-recorded one, because it's always like, you know, it's so personal when you say it, you know. It's such a dope intro.
Now you've increased the bar, because when people don't get one, now it's gonna be like I won't lie, I've been waiting for this one. We've been talking about this one for
about 8 months or so. Yeah. It's been a conversation that we've had in the DMs for a while.
Yeah, minutes DMs, you know.
Yo,
the first question anyone will ask is like, Austin Malema, what got you into photography? Because usually we can go up with the question.
I think for me it's always, you know, every other year I keep realizing that I've always wanted to be a storyteller of some sort. You know, a few days ago we were restructuring our office, and I realized that I had this 46664 photo book from 2004, I think, from the very first concert that they did for the benefit concert for 46664 with the Beyonce on it, right? And I was like, damn, this is one of the books that I have kept for so long, because someone had passed it down to me and said, you like photos so much, here's a photo book, right? This is when I was still in high school, right? And if you think about it now, I've got it stacked up against images or photo books by some of my favorite photographers, you know, and I'm like, all of these things kind of make sense when you look at it later on in life, because I always tell people, like, I wanted to be a storyteller, right? When I was a kid, I loved photos. Like, photography was a big thing. I would, you know, when the neighborhood photographer would be coming through to town, I'd be dressed to the nines to make sure that I'm ready for it, right? This is when I'm about 6-7 years old. Like, then you look back into primary school when I started writing scripts and poems. Like, I feel like I always wanted to be some sort of creative and a storyteller, and photography became the one way of doing that only later on in the process, because I went and I studied film because I thought I wanted to be a film director, right? And I was like, I'm gonna make money, I'm gonna be famous, you know, I'm gonna be a film director. But, you know, later on I realized that I was great at taking pictures instead of telling stories in motion, and that also came back later when I started directing as well. So, you know, the bug has always been in me since I was a kid. Like, I know this is a long-winded story to try explain this whole thing, but I feel like, you know, you make those realizations every other day when you look at what you've done or what you've kept in your past to show you that you've always been predestined for a certain path.
Damn. So it's been a minute since I've said damn in the interview. God damn. This journey you on.
Yeah.
What keeps you on it? Because there's so many facets to it. You know, you're an artist at your core.
I think my biggest thing is, and I always say this and people probably think it's weird, but my fear of failure is the one thing that kind of keeps me afloat, right? Because if you fear failing, you always put out your best in everything that you do. Like, I fear failure so much that, you know, no matter what it takes, I will try and not fail. And I know people say you must try and fail just to know or learn some sort of lesson, but I feel like I've learned so many lessons in always putting on my best foot forward and making sure that there is no way I'm going to fail at it. If I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail at 80%, but that's not complete failure, is it? So I always say, you know what, no matter what I do, I don't think I've ever really failed at anything. You know, I might have started multiple companies with multiple friends or people and then probably never worked out, but I always put my best foot forward, and that's why I get up right after that and I'm like, you know what, that didn't work, so we're gonna try it here.
How did you know to pivot from that not working? Because a lot of us, we will just sit in, Gizamile, it's fine, and that's enough. Because you did put in your best,
yeah,
and it didn't work out. But how did you know that it's worth trying again?
I think you never really know, but in me, it's always just about, you know what, if something doesn't work, you're just going to find an alternative to make it work. Like, it doesn't work, but, you know, there's a popular phrase, I've even forgotten it, but it's about, there's 110 ways to do the same thing, you know. It's just about trying a different way after you fail at it, right? Who is it? Thomas Edison, when he invented that light bulb, I think he only succeeded at 1,000th time or what, but he tried all different things and it was like, okay, cool, it's working here, but the fuse dies quicker, so I must try something else to make it work. I must try something else to make it last longer. I must try something else so that it goes off or it comes on. So I feel like for me, it's always been the same thing. Like, my drive and my ambition for the things that I care about will not let me stop at any certain point until I achieve what I want.
That's crazy. I think the first time, dating back, the first time I ever saw you was 2017.
Yeah.
You had the black Corolla. You know that vocalistic line, Skalivala neke vaga Honda. Skalivala no vaga Corolla. What was it like in that moment? Like, did you know that we're gonna beat these odds? Because at some stage in someone's journey, it starts to feel stagnant.
Yeah, that's
because like you're hitting, but you're just hitting at the same level.
I'll tell you what, I think that time in my life was probably just the peak of my career. 2016, 2017 was probably when Austin Malema, the brand, was born. Like, previously I was just Mpho Austin Malema, like some young kid starting film, you know. But 2016, 2017, that's when things started, you know, picking up properly. And at no point did I really think that this is where I'm going to be sitting, but I knew I'm going to be sitting somewhere comfortable though. Like, you know, there's always certain things that I say to people, and one of the things is I knew I was going to be famous, but how, I didn't know. Like, that one part was, I know I'm going to be famous. Like, whether as a director, as this, I am going to be someone noteworthy. I knew that part. But I think when the photography thing started working out, I realized that, you know what, there's a lot more that we can build onto this. You know, a lot of people don't know that I started off doing videos in 2013, 2014, recap videos for parties. You know, when you look back at Genesis, you know, one of the very first videos and pictures that I posted is from there. You know, this is 2013 when Until started. Yeah. You know, now they're celebrating 10 years and we were there with them.
Your army was there.
Yeah, so I think for me, it's again, you know, the fact that I just fear failure so much that everything that I did had to lead to something. Like, even if it did not work out 100%, but at some point something is going to come out of it. It's either going to be a lesson, it's going to be a moment of realization that you need to pivot, you need to move to something else. Because all these things, if you don't start it, you'll never learn anything, right? Because you just keep waiting for something to happen. And for me, having started, I'll tell you, I think I've started about 4 or 5 companies that have failed, right? And now you come to RTC Studios, all the learnings that I took from all those little things that did not work out came what RTC Studios is today. It's just about deciding, okay, this is the lesson I learned from that, and this is what I'm going to take. It's not a failure, it's a lesson.
But how did you know that, yo, I'm actually a photographer now? Because a lot of people shoot, a lot of people take pictures, and sometimes they bangers, you know?
Yeah.
We saw a lot of images we've seen. Like, sometimes I'll take a picture and I'm like, this is kind of fire, you know?
I could do this.
And the internet reacts to it and they say it's kind of fire.
Yeah.
But then how did you know that, yo, right now I'm actually a photographer? And when you discover you're a photographer, how did you know how to professionalize?
I think for me, I was lucky that I started doing photography while I was in film school. Kind of gave me an edge because I already knew like a few things, what exposure was, because I did cinematography at film school, so it became a lot easier. The biggest thing about photography was, and I always say this, when I started it, it was to get into popular spots and hang out with the popular people and also get paid for it, right? That was the one way to do it. But then somewhere, somehow, you know, my very first job was being an assistant to a wedding photographer, just to learn how to get better, because I wanted to make money, number one. Money was a big motivator for me in the beginning. And then I started falling in love with the process of taking photos, literally, like how to create photos, how to create memories. And when I started seeing that that was working out, I was taking inspiration from different photographers and different aspects of photography and including them in what I was doing, right? And all of it was just a mishmash. I didn't know I was good at it, but I was able to take one aspect of architectural photography and bring it into shooting a concert. Mashing 2 different worlds into one, right? And then you look at the stage that is architecture looking like a big building in a picture, and you're like, damn, okay, cool, that's smart, that works. So I'm gonna try other angles, I'm gonna try other things. And all of these things just started building up, you know, my character and my approach to taking photos. You know, I always said, you know, a lot of people take photos just to take photos, but I take them for the moment. And I look for those moments. Like if you ever watch me doing an event, you'll see me like with my eye on through the viewfinder, but I'm not taking a picture, right? Because I'm looking for a little moment, and I'll sit there and I'll wait for someone to laugh or smile, because you know that that's what really matters to everybody else, right? The little moment of emotion that kind of highlights how a person is feeling when they're at this event, or this little moment that they have. And that's the biggest thing that I learned, you know, building up all these little things and, you know, finding these little nuggets of wisdom in trying things that don't work, that I figured out, you know what, I'm really good at this photography thing and I should take it up a notch. And that's when I started working with influencers around 2015, 2016, and then, you know, people started realizing, oh damn, this guy is good. And it kind of took a bit of time to get to that point where, you know, people realized, okay, cool, you're really good at this thing. But it also took, you know, crafting and recrafting those little things, because certain things didn't work, right? And then, you know, when I started doing a lot of concert photography, I realized that the one thing that's always missing in concert photography is people just shoot the performers and they don't shoot it like someone watching the show. And that's the one thing that I started enjoying and implementing into my work. And that's why my work kind of stood out, because I was like, okay, cool. If I shoot this picture of a performer like someone watching it, whoever's going to look at the picture feels like they're part of that concert. Yeah. And that's what you want people to feel like, they're part of this experience and not just looking at it outwardly.
Damn.
That's another damn.
Yeah, it's 2. We're going to have a damn meter in the comments. Keep counting. In that moment, right, you taking these photos, doesn't it get to your head though? Because like you came in with the intention of shooting cool people and being paid for it.
Yeah.
Now you're doing exactly that. Doesn't it get to your head that now I'm cool too? You know?
I think it does, man. You start sipping on your own juice and you never know where it's gonna end up. But I think for me, I caught it early. I caught it early enough that I realized that I shouldn't let it get to my head. Because the other thing is, and this is the reality of life, right? The one thing that happens is if you start sipping on your own juice too much and shit happens and you start falling off, nobody's ever going to try to help you up depending on how you get down, right? Because a lot of people in this industry will get hyped up and then they think that they it, right? And then they start looking down on other people and not being kind. And when they fall down, then they struggle to get back up. And then they're like, but why is it such a struggle? But it's because, like, when you got up, you were stepping on people's heads instead of, you know, uplifting each other and being a kind human being. Like, the biggest thing that people make the biggest mistake that people make is thinking that by them getting to the top, they're going to stay there forever and they're not going to fall. And by the time you fall from grace, right, you still need people to be like, you know what, you were a great guy, we'll give you another opportunity, we'll do this. And I'm not saying this, you know, by pretending, but by being a genuine human, you are able to create connections that help you get up when you're down, and you're able to, you know, still get back up. But if you aren't able to do that, when you fall down from grace, nobody's going to be able to help you up because you were hyped and you thought you were it and you disregarded everybody else's advice. And I believe that, you know, no matter how high you get, never get on a high horse, because when you fall, it's going to be painful.
Damn. Strike 3. I'm out. See, Val. In that moment, you're on your high horse. What that moment you're in, right? You realizing people fall off.
Yeah.
You realizing that there's a high possibility that you could fall off too.
Yeah.
What were the mechanisms that you instilled in your life to survive that season of uncertainty?
I think the biggest thing that I had to do, number one, is realize that the work matters more than anything else. Because once you make it about a personality, then you're starting to fight a different fight, right? Or you're trying to argue a different argument. But if it's just based on the work, then everybody looks at that only. Like, instead of involving egos and everything else. Like, once you just literally break everything down, and the biggest reason people fall off or fall from grace is because an ego overtakes the work, and then you let the ego become the biggest thing in front of you and not the work. And when I realized that, you know what, I'm becoming too cool, like, my work is now starting to fall back. Everybody's looking at Austin Malema, but not Austin Malema's work. I was like, you know what, guys, you got to start looking at Austin Malema's work more than anything. Like, stop the Austin Malema thing and then start putting out the work first. Don't let anything else overshadow the work, because you are only here for the work, and the work is the one thing that's going to keep you going consistently, because if the work is good enough, then nothing else is going to disrupt that. Don't let anything else come in between the work and what people are receiving. Put out the best work, even if sometimes it's not the best work, but let the work speak for you no matter where you are, and nothing else will come between you and the success that you're looking for. And that was the easiest thing. Like, when I started realizing that I am growing a bit of an ego, and, you know, it's all about me, like, you gotta see me, you gotta do, and I was like, no, dude, like, yo, let the work be the only thing that everybody remembers. You should not be remembered for anything else. And it might sound bad for you to say you should not be remembered for anything else, but the very first thing that people should think about when they think about Austin Malema is, damn, the work is dope. Like, remember when he did that? Remember when he did that? And not, oh, damn, yeah, his ego, dog. Like, I don't want to work with that guy.
It's tough, man. It's tough. We're balancing. It's a learning curve. It's a learning curve.
It is.
There's the kid who just figured out how to shoot. Like,
yeah.
They figured out retouching. But what are the structures that you had instilled within your process to make you a better person to work with? Because most people do have skill.
Yeah.
Most people, they probably supersede most people because of like their abilities.
I agree with you.
And just their eye, because there's some things you really can't teach, right?
There's a lot of things you can't teach. Like, literally a lot of things. Like, humility is one of the biggest things that one could ever have in any space or any industry that you are in, because the ability for people to be able to work with you may supersede what your talent allows. Like, you might be the most talented person, but you are not... English is running away from me. But you might be the most talented person in the room, but you are not humble. You do not listen to advice. You do not take advice. And people might want to work with you, but they realize how difficult you are. and they choose not to work with you, but someone else, and then you look at them and you're like, but I'm more talented than them. Why is it that they're choosing the other person instead of me? But it's purely because of humility. People love working with people that they're able to enjoy working with in the process. The process of working is not just getting a product done. It's about engaging with different people and seeing how they can come together for one goal. And if you can't do that or make that process enjoyable, then people won't work with you, no matter how talented you are. Like, literally, I think that's one of the biggest values that you can ever have as a human. Be a person who is also teachable and a kind spirit, man. Like, literally all these things, you never know who's going to open the next door for you, just by being kind and being able to listen and learn from different people and help out other people. Next thing you know, you're getting a call about, you know, a job that you probably would have never dreamt of just because you helped someone. I'll give you the biggest example. Like, my very first BlackBerry I got from the marketing manager of RIM South Africa, right? And I didn't even know who this guy was. He came into JJ's, and I used to work at JJ's, and on that day I was on the teller, and what he was looking for was a South Park shirt, right? And I was like, alright, cool, let me look through what we've got in the store. Look through, and then I went all the way to the back because he was trying to buy like a bunch of South Park shirts for his friends for a party. Yeah. And I think we found like 4, and he was trying to find an extra one. And then I went back and I looked through everything, and I came back and I was like, yo, there's nothing, like literally we out of stock of all the South Park stuff. And then earlier I had mentioned how I loved his BlackBerry, right? Just in conversation when we were looking through these shirts. And then in the end, he's like, listen, I really love your spirit and the fact that you went above and beyond to try help me get what I'm looking for. Here's my number. Send me a message on Monday and I'll get you a BlackBerry.
Like the chosen ones, isn't it?
Like, yeah.
Well, you know, I always heard that some people don't only use Dove, they use something else. Are you one of those, Austin?
Nah, I'm just on the water, bro. But that's all it took. Like, my very first BlackBerry was given to me by the marketing manager of BlackBerry South Africa. And just by being kind and being able to help someone look for what they're looking for, I was able to get that feat. And I feel like you kind of carry certain values, either you're born with them or you learn them, but certain values you carry with you until the casket drops or until something changes in you. But certain values are very important to instill in yourself and others around you, just because you know what it means for you.
Damn. That's the 5th one. Yeah. And that's going to be the title of this episode. It's going to be damn, what's them, you know? It's a journey that you've been on.
A long one.
A very long one. Like, extensively long. You've become a father.
Yeah.
Not on your personal capacity. I mean, to the game.
Oh, damn. I'm thinking about personal capacity.
I'm talking to the game.
Yeah.
What? In that moment, right? A lot of people find pleasure in power. Yeah. And most people find an opportunity to abuse it.
Yeah.
How has the journey been for you to empower other creators and not possess them? Because some people will then start possessing creators that, yo, you are doing this, you are my son, like belittling people, you know?
It's funny you're saying you are my son. There's someone who calls me. When he calls me, he says Fader every single day.
Fader.
He knows. Look, for me, I think the biggest thing has always been imparting knowledge, because I will not be here forever. And if you can help others get up, you know, you're not doing bad to yourself. You know, it's also just a karma thing, you know. And now it sounds like I'm just doing this because of good karma. No, it's because I'm a kind person and I want others to succeed. And also I am where I am because someone gave me the opportunity. So why should I be the one to stop it? And also, you can't possess people. You're invited to the table because you have something to share. Nobody ever comes to my table because they've got nothing to themselves. Like, the fact that you end up at my table means that there's something for you to offer at my table. And that's the biggest thing. Like, I can't say, oh no, I made you, but I invited you to the table because you had something to offer. And that's the wrong mentality a lot of people have, because they feel like, oh no, I helped this person get to this point, help this person to get to this point. But the only reason they got to that point is because you saw something in them to invite them to your table, and you were able to teach them something, and they owe you nothing. well, there's maybe gratitude for whatever you may have taught them, but I feel like they don't really owe you as much as you think they owe you, because the fact that they ended up in front of you, you saw something or you saw potential in them and you wanted them to work with you because there was something in them that, you know, you could, you know, stir up and build up into something bigger, but not because there was nothing. Like, and that's the biggest thing. Like, I feel like all the people that I work with all have potential, and that's why they end up at my table. And whatever they build, I want them to build bigger and better away from me. Like, you can help us build as far as we can, but I can't, you know, keep you in my lane if your dreams are bigger and you want to go do your own thing. Like, you know, you always wish that people learn enough that when they leave, they've got enough to go by themselves, or wherever they're going, they're adding on to what they learned from you and then building into something bigger and bigger. Because look, if you come to work with me at RTC Studios, I don't want you to always just stay at RTC Studios. It would be great if people would do that, but I also feel like you want to learn and also grow as an individual, that this should not be the last point for you to be at. We should be able to teach you something and you learn certain things and you grow as an individual, and then you're able to say, you know what, I came into this house with just this much and this is how much knowledge I've got, and I'd love to go build my own house. You know, that just means we've done something ourselves. We're not just keeping you and keeping your talent to our own benefit. No, we want you to learn and also benefit yourself, and then say, you know what, when I'm ready to walk away and go build my own little RTC, I have enough to say, okay, cool, this is how they do it here. This is what I need to do for myself. You can't hold people hostage, man. People have their own dreams and ambitions.
But how do you deal with it when people build their own houses prematurely? Like, you saw what they will be becoming.
Damn. I think there's nothing you can do about that. That one, and it's very funny you're asking this. Like, you know, it's almost like you know my experience. It's something that we kind of had to deal with recently, right? But you don't know other people's ambitions and dreams, right? And sometimes premature might be premature for them to learn, but sometimes it might be premature for them to thug it out in a way and figure it out the tough way that it was premature, right? Because I feel like all of us have made premature mistakes, and sometimes you can tell someone like this is premature and they don't understand why, because they probably, number one, think that you don't want them to build their own house. Number two, they may not realize that it is really premature because you've walked the journey before them. And these are all the things that you need to start trying to figure out when, you know, someone decides, you know what, I want to go build my own house right now. And then you can be like, okay, cool, are you ready for it? Have you thought about all the things that could happen while you go here? Because if you think about it, when I started my business, we were very early in the early stages of photography. Advantage. But if you try to do it today, how many more people are trying to do the exact same thing that we're doing today? Quite a lot. And that becomes very difficult to try build something or offer something that's very different when you have 1,000 people in a choir singing in the same tune.
You're seeing people build themselves within the structures of creative the same way you've done for yourself.
Yeah.
How in that moment do you feel like, yo, I still need to carry on and pave the way for more? Because some people just like, they want to automate their lives. It's like, okay, cool, let me hire you on a permanent basis. Let me restrict you to this because there's more stability for the business than there is for the human growing.
Look, in any aspect, I think any company benefits from hiring people on a permanent basis, number one, because it just makes more sense financially, to be honest. You don't want to be paying people freelance rates, because that just means your business is working to pay freelancers, right? And we've been able to create a structure that works for us. And also we're trying out a new structure soon that might be more beneficial to everybody. The biggest thing is to be aware of the people who are offering you services and where they want to be in their lives, and if they're suitable for the sort of space that you have, right? I work a lot with a lot of freelancers, like literally, like I think we probably work with 20-30 freelancers which is still, you know, a little bit of a puzzle to deal with. But you know, the path of negotiation kind of, you know, puts us in a better place. If I could, I'd probably hire most of them, to be honest with you, because I don't want to be competing with people who work with me, man. Like it's any business. Like, you don't want to be competing with people because they don't understand the structure that you've built, and they can always undercut you. They can always do all these things. But sometimes you just have to be free and be aware of the industry you're in and pivot. Like, even like by pivot, I'm not saying move away from the industry, but find different ways to offer different service offerings that make you the only one who can do that sort of thing. And even if freelancers come by, you know, everybody knows that if you want this kind of service offering, let's just go to the person who does it. It doesn't matter how many freelancers come by and they can offer it at this rate, but if you are able to do it better than everybody else, if you are able to be the only one who does it the way that you do it, even if someone comes in cheaper, they know that, okay, cool, if I want it done correct in the right time, I'm gonna go there. And that's the best thing that you can do for yourself.
How do you assimilate the marvel of photographers? How did you go about that?
Oh man!
Everyone is a hero there because everyone's the best.
Everyone's the best.
Do. But how did you manage?
Yo, I think I have a great eye for talent, and talent in different spaces. Like, you can all be great photographers, but I can sort of figure out who fits in where better at which specific kind of photography or which medium of photography they fit in better in. And I think that's the one thing that, you know, over the years I've trained myself to figure out, just as simple as figuring out a photographer style. And that on its own kind of gives me the ability when we go onto a project to say, okay, cool, this is the type of project that we're doing, and these are the type of photographers that we need, you know. And we do this exercise almost every week in our team when we have different people we're working with, and we're like, okay, cool, who's strong at this, who's strong at this, and this is the person who's going to do this. Someone strong at performances, give them the performances, and this is why we want that person to do performances. Someone is great at photo booth, this is why we want that person to do the photo booth. Because being able to do that kind of makes it easier for you to upsell what you're doing for the client. Because if I have a Henry who's really great at doing photo booth stuff, he's able to show out his best at RTC Studios during a photo booth. And then when you've got Austin who's doing a performance, who's good at performances, then you know that all your performances are covered, your photo booth is covered, your event coverage is covered, so you don't have to worry about certain things. Each superhero plays to their strength and you end up winning as a team.
How do you then develop the client relations? Because sometimes you get a big client,
yeah,
and it's like a really big client.
And sometimes you get the really small ones.
Yeah.
I think for us, the biggest thing is not to differentiate between big and small. Like, our service offering is the same. We don't treat anybody as big and small. We treat everybody as a project that is worthwhile to be done by us. And that's the first thing that you end up realizing, that when you start categorizing clients according to how much they're paying you, you start looking at the quality of work that you're offering to someone who's not paying too much, to someone who's paying too much. And then you start saying, okay, cool, why are we getting our best guys to do this? Why can't we get like someone smaller to do all the clients who aren't paying us a lot of money, and then we put all our best guys at the good guys thing? Like, that doesn't work for a business, because now everybody starts looking at the work and like, okay, cool, you're treating us different because we're not the highest paying, and then the highest paying guys get the best quality of work. Why is it that you have to do that? Like, for me, everybody's the same because everybody's paying the same money. Not the same in terms of how equal it is, but it's the same money. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like, you know, sometimes I do jobs that are beneath my quota or level, you know, like beneath in quotation marks, but because like there isn't such a thing, man. Like, work is work. Like, you learn so many things by going to such a small event and doing things, and you learn a different approach to do things. There's always a learning in all these things that we're doing, and people just choose to look at things and say, you know what, that's beneath, you know, what I'm supposed to be doing, so I'm not going to do that. Or, you know, go send a junior to do that. Like, you know, sometimes I'll get a call and we don't have a photographer and the job is 5,000 Rand for 3-4 hours. I'm like, all right, cool, that's fine, I'll go do it, because I know that, you know, it reactivates my hunger, my passion. You know, when you go into that, you know, you're like, damn, okay, cool, this is what I used to do by myself. you know, like now I'm hungry to show you that I can still do it by myself. Like, you know, maybe it's just me.
And then with clients for the business, because you become the multiverse.
Yeah.
Do you approach clients for jobs, or is it always you guys receiving? Are you pitching at this stage?
A lot of people will tell you I ask for work. Everywhere I go, like, you know, ask Slicker. Slicker will tell you, like, Austin, as soon as I see Austin, he's like, like, because I definitely know that if you don't ask, where you gonna get it? Like, you don't even know what opportunities people are holding. Like, you know, you just sitting there and you're like, oh, okay, cool. We good. Like, we are RTC Studios. Everybody knows who we are. So why should we bother asking for work? People must come to us. Bro, I still go out and I say, hey guys, this is who I am. And someone's like, yeah, we know who you are, Austin. I'm like, yeah, but I want to show you what we're doing now. Yeah, you know what we've done. Yeah, let me show you what we're doing now. Like, it's the simplest way. Like, and it's the most free way of marketing yourself, to say, okay, cool, have you seen this piece of work that we've done? You know, I worked on a job. I was doing stills on this job, right? And someone comes up to me and they're like, oh, is this what you guys do? I'm like, no, let me show you our portfolio. You know, I went to grab my laptop and then I played our show reel and they're like, oh my God, you guys also do commercials. Yes, we do. And then now, you know, you've introduced yourself into a creative director who might be looking for someone to do a job that has stills and commercial, and now you might be the first option. Or you might just be an option to be sent a brief so you can treat on it. Like, all these little things people don't realize, like the conversations that you have kind of help build your business. Like, for me, I'm still pitching. I remember, like, when I started the business, I sent out probably like 200 emails. Like, everybody knew who I was, but they didn't know the business I was in. And I was like, hey guys, this is Austin Malema from RTC Studios. I would like to introduce you to what the business is and what it does. Can I please have 5 minutes of your time?
Did they reply? Because they didn't reply to me.
Not all of them replied, but from those that replied, I got some business.
Yeah.
And some of it has led to relationships that have been on for 4 years now.
This the biggest in the continent. Can we name drop on this podcast?
You can definitely name drop, but yeah.
How's that been, like, shooting for Dstv in different capacities?
Oh damn!
Because you're not still.
Yo, I think that has been, like, amazing. Like, yo, the ability to grow from just doing stills to doing commercials for those guys has just literally opened up our world into something different. Like, I tell you, like, you know, when we started doing commercials for those guys, it was very small stuff. Literally, like, you know, small Putimanati ads here and there. And then we got to do Origins, which allowed us to really flex our creative muscle and then showcase, like, how much more creative we can be. And then, you know, it just led to more and more work for us, you know. And it also led to other people that we got to work with, you know, like their competitor now and again, you know.
Business is business.
Business is business, man. Like, you know, as long as people aren't getting touched about it, you know, I'm a service provider, man. Like, you know, if anybody's trying to hook us onto a lifetime contract, we happy. Just, you know.
You ready for a 360?
Yeah, I'm not a 360. But I'm happy to do a long-term retainer with somebody with the money looking nice.
Yeah.
You know? But for now, we're just trying to, you know, flex our muscles and show creativity and share our creativity with everybody.
On your own personal capacity, you get flown out. I mean, it's still the business, but you get flown out.
Damn.
You know?
Oh damn!
You overseas for a minute, like a minute.
Yeah.
And the minute has been over a couple of months too, right?
Yeah, I did 2 months in the US. That was an amazing time, yo. LA was amazing. It was actually when we were supposed to do the podcast the first time, and I was like, nah, just wait up until I finish up something. And that trip on its own was a great learning curve. You know, we had many plans of what we wanted to do because we were hoping that The Woman King gets nominated for the Oscars. So we had an entire plan towards the Oscars, and that did not happen. But, you know, I got to make a lot of work with Tuso during that time, which was amazing. And I think that's one of the most treasured relationships that I have with a client, because just the ability to believe in someone, to allow them to come to the US while you're doing other things and be able to, you know, capture everything that you're working on at that moment becomes, you know, I don't think there's many people who can give you those relationships, you know, or those opportunities to also grow yourself while they're growing. And I really, really respect her for that. And, you know, that has led to a lot of other things. You know, it's funny, when we were there, we did quite a bit of work for her, and then it also allowed me to meet different guys in the US as well, including Edgar Estevez, who did the Doja Cat music video. I didn't know he was that big until, you know, I started, you know, looking him up, and then I hit him up on DM, and the dude was like, come through to my office, let's link up, let's chat. And then while I was there, I met up with another dude who were looking at his work the week before, Adrian, who's like this big creator in the US as well. And like all those relationships are now vested in me just because of someone who said, Austin, come through to the US and we can do content for me while I'm gearing up for 1, 2, 3 in my life. And now it has, you know, allowed me to have extra relationships with other people. You know, those things are not free, man. Like literally, those are like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I treasure those moments because it allowed me to connect with other creators and also learn from other people, and also allowed me to grow as a person and also learn the industry in the US as well, you know, because it's so different to learn the industry in the US when you're in South Africa and you're just watching. But when you're on the ground and you speak to the people and you're like, how do you guys do 1, 2, 3? How does this work? How does this work? Then you start realizing, damn, the industry is so different on this side of the world. And I feel like, I don't know if I should say that, but I feel like in South Africa, the ceiling is so low that like you hit your pinnacle so soon, and then like you're now restricted, and you need to start thinking outside of the South Africa. And that's sort of where I am. I'm like, in this country, they box you in so quickly, and then you're like, cool, that's fine. This is the box I'm in. Let me think about doing stuff outside of this box. And the only place that you can do it, which is worth it, is probably like in Europe or the US.
Damn. I gotta delve more into you.
Let's go. Oh, by the way, I think, you know, when you get to watch and listen to this, my new work is out with Thusambedu. That's who I was with in the US. We just did a L'Oreal campaign, like big billboards. We out here. When you see them billboards, just know that it's Austin Malema working with Thuso. That's just because of the relationship that we've built, that she's able to trust me with certain things. You know, got to do Paris Fashion Week, bro, for Dior. Like, yo, come on. It's a little wild. Like, you know, I never saw myself doing, you know, a Dior Fashion Week, sitting in the front row somewhere there and like seeing all these people. Like, photography just made that shit possible, man. And a great relationship with a great friend.
That's so fire, man. Like, how did it feel to like see people also tag you in the boxes in store? Like, seeing your work live, how does that actually make you feel?
I think it's exciting, man. It's always exciting seeing my work from different people, like literally, but also it's exciting and scary because I never want to hold on to anything that I've done currently as my best work, right? Because it just feels like you're holding on to something or some sort of pinnacle to say, this is the best that I can do. And I always just say, I'm excited for the week or for the month when the stuff is out, but right after that, we're going to move on to something else because we're not going to hold on to this for too long. We're going to do something else that's better than that. It's exciting when you see it. And then you're like, ah, damn, I'm on billboards now. I'm a big boy, because you wanted that. You grew up wanting it. And now when you achieve it, you're like, okay, cool, that's done. What's next? Where are we moving to? Gotta hit the next target.
But do you take the time to celebrate it?
I do, but also don't dwell in it. Like, I'll celebrate it with my team, but I can't dwell in it. Like, I celebrate it today, but then it's done. Like, you know, the problem is, like, what's celebrating it? Like, taking the time to celebrate, because people dwell in things and then you hold on to it, and like, you know, now you're holding that one thing as the greatest thing that you've done, and then you can't move on from that. Like, I always look at my work as, and I want to say kids, but I don't want to say kids because like now it's going to make me sound like a bad parent, but they look like little individual projects that I love right now, and then I walk away from it. When it's done, and then I move on to the next one.
It's my 6th, damn.
That's it. You
Damn.
just damn you, Lwazi.
Damn. God damn me. God damn us.
Yeah.
Your relationship with Nicken. It started very small. It's getting.
Oh man, I wish people
so
knew
big.
how that thing started, bro. That thing started with like years of rejection. That thing started with.
Shout out
I
to
remember.
all the girls who trained you.
I remember when I See a Different You had an activation with Nikon. They were the first guys to get a deal with Nikon. I think 2016 at some point, right?
Yeah.
And they launched this camera. I remember the D3500, and was the first Wi-Fi enabled camera that they had. And I got invited to this photo walk that they were doing in town that ended up with a lunch at a park somewhere, right? And then we did this photo walk. I get to meet the team at Nikon and different people, and I'm like hitting up people. I'm like, yo, who's the person to speak to? I'm hot right now. Like, you gotta see my work.
I'm on fire.
Like, you gotta see what I'm worth, right? And I meet someone who's like, nah, this is the marketing manager, this is the person to speak to. I get a card, I get another card, and I'm hitting people up. I'm sending emails like, yo, my name is Austin Malema. I think like I am the next big thing. I feel like I should be your ambassador. And I got no's. I got like nothing, bro. Like
that silent
literally,
email.
yeah.
And it landed.
And the thing is, I was in the gear anyway, right? And I was just trying to get more. And I'm just trying to get the recognition. But like, you know, who knew that, you know, 4 years later, you know, this is where we're going to end up. I'm saying 4 years later to 2020, where I bumped into the CEO of the group in the store, and he's like, yo, how you doing? And I was chatting to the salesperson about something, and it's like, oh, what gear do you use? I'm like, oh, no, I use this, and this. It's like, oh, okay, cool, that's pretty cool. What's your name? I'm like, hi, my name is Austin Malema. And it's like, oh, damn, you and I just connected on LinkedIn last week. Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. Here's my email address. Just chat to me, and I'd like to chat to you about something. And then, you know, next thing, you know, this is where we end up. Like, literally, like, people don't know how many no's I got. And then, like, 4 years later, I'm bumping into the CEO in the store, and then we exchange numbers, we exchange details, and then, you know, I'm an ambassador now.
How does it feel like when you hot? You know you hot. Like, you hot. You hot. Like, God, the numbers prove it. The work proves it.
Yeah.
Nobody's betting at your average at that time. And they're not even replying. Because I think the biggest problem every creative has with anyone at brand is that you could simply just say it doesn't make sense right now.
Yeah.
But just text go green. Like, no replies.
Bro, I think it kind of hurt at that time. But then again, you know, I think I said this to you, like, you know, when we're talking about the water brand and how, like, you know, things just fall into place after some time, you know. Like, I had been using the gear, and then I got rejected, but I was like, you know what, that's okay, I'm not going to stop. Like, at some point or another, this is going to happen. And, you know, I think I was hard at that time, and whoever just did not see it, and I was probably not in the right place as well, because I was also very young. Like, I was going crazy on Twitter. I was wild. Like, at that time, I think it would have been the worst idea or the worst thing to have happened to me, because I wouldn't know how to deal with it. You know, so I feel like it was the worst thing to have happened. It was a great thing to be rejected at that time, but it also, you know, taught me patience. I also figured it out when I got to the door with the right people. The door was wide open. I didn't have to knock anymore. Now
when you get it, do you still have that anger?
Nah.
Or you just like, yo, finally? I guess.
It was my finally moment. I was like, yo, finally they recognize who I am and what I do, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm gonna open more doors for other people.
What does that do to your ambition? Because now it's like you got on this opportunity, you're at this level, and then now it's like, I should give me my own camera, man. Because you're seeing a bit too much.
Yeah.
Like, you're in the office now.
Ah, damn, they need to have an office for me at Premium Brand, bro. They definitely know. I think, you know what, all it does is, number one, it's the validation that you're worth it, number one. Number two is I definitely know that, you know, it took the time, but right now the recognition is worth it a lot more than it would have been at any point. And for me, it does. My ambition is always driven by what's possible and what might happen next. And I feel like for me, getting into that door was not just about myself, because there's a lot of other young people who use the brand that I need to pay it forward to. That was my next thing. Like, when I got into the door, I was like, I'm in, so we all gonna sneak in through the back door.
Yeah.
You know, so as soon as I got in, I was like, you gotta see this person, you gotta check this person out, you gotta check this person out. And there's people that they reached out to that they're working with that I recommended, and I enjoy that. Like, because, you know, it's not just about me getting in and say, oh no, I'm the first black, I'm the only black, or I'm one of the few blacks. No, like, I'm opening the doors for everybody else to come in and say, okay, cool, look at this kid. They might not use the brand, but they might be worth, you know, looking at for the brand. And that's the biggest thing. Like, for me, it's about the pay forward more than anything else. And my ambition will always be to soar higher and higher. Like, as soon as I come into that door, there's another door that I'm eyeing. You know, I made it to this door. Now, you know, a few months ago, I was with Nikon in Dubai, you know, doing a workshop in Dubai. What's next? What's next? So after Dubai, we gotta go somewhere else. We gotta go somewhere else. What's after Dubai? We're gonna go to Europe. We're gonna go to the US. We're gonna start doing other things, you know, make people aware of what we're doing locally on a global scale.
It's so interesting how businesses go, right, and relationships go, whether corporate or personal. And at times you'd find that you take a new leaf and try to partner with people and try to get it to the next level. And at times it lets you down. But how do you deal with that when things don't go as planned? Or as agreed?
I'm gonna tell you what, I think the biggest thing I ever learned is whenever you get into new business or when you turn a new leaf with other people, whether friends, family, or, you know, whatever it is, you gotta put on paper. Like, I think that's been the biggest lesson I've learned. Like, when things go sour, you can't just point things out. You gotta put it on paper and say, this is what the paper says, this is what we agreed on. Because, you know, people turn, you know, people change, dreams change. And, you know, you never really know what you're gonna find, where you're gonna find yourself in situations. Like, sometimes things will work out, sometimes they won't work out. But it's always tricky, man. Like, I've been in many situations where things did not work out, and it's so sad because it's always the ones that you pray for that do you dirty the most, you know. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's wild.
That's kind of tragic, man, because it hits home when you say that, because you expect so much. But I don't even think people understand that most relationships get fractured not even by what the grand scope problem is, but at its core, what we had agreed upon, what we had found our relationship to be. And you found yourself in different relationships all the way from your working career. Can you please relay what you were doing at the formative years of your photography? Because a lot of people just think you hopped out like a fearless, you know.
I think, you know, I've been doing this for a while, that, you know, the foundations set me up really well. I think, you know, when I graduated from film school, I spent another year working at the film school I studied at as a lecturer for first year and second year, lecturing editing. So that was a great time for me to also just familiarize myself with the space. And also, I hadn't gotten a job in the industry, because in the following year, I got a job on Skeem Sam as an assistant editor when Skeem Sam came back as a telenovela. And when that was happening, I was also shooting, you know, parties at clubs, at different events. And I was just trying to, you know, build up a portfolio of work to say, this is what I do, you know. Got to work with PH in 2014 as his videographer. I remember the very first time I went to Cape Town was with PH, and he was gigging out there in Cape Town.
That wave of artists who have
definitely, you know, I remember I met Bash at some point in the beginning of that, Shishiliza, when he was with Cass, and he was part of the wave just before us, but then, you know, met him, and I did some stuff with PH. I remember I got some rack. I had about 10K, and I went to Shelf Life in Cape Town, and I splurged all that money on 2 pairs of kicks.
I get it.
Like, you know, I was hella young. I was dropping money like it ain't a thing, because, you know, I'd make 10K today, and I know tomorrow I'm gonna make 5K. So I'd probably drop 10K at Shelf Life like it's nothing, because I know tomorrow I'm gonna make another 5. So I'm good. And I had a full-time job anyway, being a lecturer. So money was not a problem for me, because I knew my salary was gonna cover my rent and all my other monthly expenses. So all the money I was making from gigging on the side was just for entertainment. You know, so then we went and grew up and started doing things with Sia on the Threaded Man, I think 2016. You know, that kind of like, yeah.
Sia, come to the show.
So that on its own kind of, you know, reset my trajectory on the work that I was doing, because it kind of formalized, you know, the work that I was doing with, you know, a publication of sorts. You know, we started doing a lot of covers on the Threaded Man, and then also allowed me to start working with other people as well. During that time, I started working with celebrities as well. You know, started reaching out to different personalities to say, hey, this is what I do. And also a lot of people were seeing the stuff that I was doing with other influencers, either on the Threaded Man, Twiggy on the side, and other parties that I was working at. So it kind of allowed me to leverage relationships that I had, and also the portfolio that I was building, that people were like, okay, cool, this homie is actually doing something. You know, that kind of led up to me doing Metro FM Music Awards, the Summers. I remember when I did the Summers with Sia as well in 2017. Following year, we were able to do the Safters direct with the Safters themselves. Like, yo, it's been a long journey.
That's an interesting part of your journey. How do you handle the business of it though, as an Indian? Because I think most creators at this stage are still in the independent phase. They haven't formalized to the multiple businesses you've had.
Yo, I think
because you got the rent.
Yeah.
You got the rack. You're enjoying life. Like,
chopping life.
You're chopping it because like you've been flown out.
Yeah.
In the section, because of all the work you've done, you're also being treated a certain way. So there's so many free things around you.
Yeah. I think, you know what, the biggest need for me to formalize a business came about later on. I think it was 2017, 2019. I had a conversation with someone, and I remember it was one of my favorite restaurants at Dahlia's in BRAAM, and and somebody came up to me and they said, Austin, you need to be aware that you'll not always be up. Sometimes when you're down, you need someone to hold you up, and you need to build a business. And that's when I started, you know, trying to start businesses with other people. You know, it was actually 2018, not 2019. And that's when I started trying to start businesses with other people. And most of it didn't work out. But I think that on its own, bro,
so
like,
we know that there's a future after those problems. Because, you know, sometimes when you face with difficulties, you think it's the end of the world.
Yeah. I think, you know what, I'll tell you, and if I'm being honest with you, the businesses that I started, I'll tell you the real reasons why most of them did not work out. Number one, the one I started with a friend, at that time I still had a job and he didn't have a job, and he started working and doing well in the music video space, and then we had started this business together. And then when I quit my job, he was like, nah, I'm good, bro. I've made a name for myself. Like, you know, I'm like, all right, cool, no problem, let that go. And then I tried to start another business with another homie. And then, you know, with that, I found out that homie was lying about the money, right? So, you know, I would bring in the work, and then this is 50-50 on what we're doing, right? And then he would be like, oh, okay, cool, this is the client I've brought in, this is how much they're paying. And then later on, you find out that it's actually a lot more than what he's saying. So it was just like, you know, this is not going to work out for me. Like, I'm being like straightforward and you lying about shit. So I'm not going to do that. And then, you know, the one business, it was just, we had different goals, man. Like I had one way I wanted to do things, and my business partners were seeing it as something else. And I was like, you know what, this is not going to work for me. Like, I understand where I want to go personally and what the dream was when I started this. And then if we're not going to align, I am not going to stick it out, you know, because I'm not going to sit here and then change what I'm seeing, because you know, all the moves that I was making at that time were measured against what was happening in the industry and where the industry was going. So I was trying to make those changes into the business, but they were not seeing them as things to do right now. So I was like, you know what, if this is not how you see it, I'm good. I'm just gonna go do it on my own, because I understand where the trajectory of the industry is. And, you know, by luck, I've ended up where I am now.
Damn, you keep taking a risk.
I told you, failure is not an option. I am afraid of failing, bro. Like, I fear failing. Like, I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying no matter what it takes. And that's 3 tries that I just mentioned to you. And that's before the other smaller businesses I started where they didn't count, because it was like, you know, you were just registering a business and thinking that it's going to be something, you know. Like, you know.
Your name was major there by CIPC.
Bro, from 2013, you know, that was when I first registered my first business. So trust me, by CIPC, deregistered since 2013, quite a few businesses.
Damn. And now when you finally take this leap on your own and you formalise,
yeah,
how do you then bring in people? Because I must... It's not a far-fetched thing to think your trust was also damaged from creative to creative.
I think a lot of your trust will be damaged because you're working with other creatives, and when you realize what's happening or how they're treating you, it kind of makes you take a step back and start reassessing relationships that you have with other people, right? But when it comes to formalizing a business, there's quite a lot that I learned. We registered RTC Studios and we're like, okay, cool, where are we going, right? And I remember when I left my last business, I was like, I don't want to take any clients from the business because I wanted to start afresh. That was the biggest thing, because I don't want to hit the ground running and I'm also cluttered with all this work that I need to do. I needed the time to refresh and also re-energize myself towards the new business that we're building. Yeah. So what I did was we restarted the business, started a new business, and then we're like, okay, cool, this is the name of the business, this is what we're going to do. We outlined what we wanted the business to do. It was very similar to the previous business, like literally. But then funniest thing happens, right? So we start the business, we employ 2 extra people. It's me, my best friend Tepo. We employ Tapelo and Tipagazi, and we're like, okay, cool, this is where we're going. And a few months later, COVID hits. Yo, we're in trouble. Like, it's bad, right? And I just sat back and I was like, okay, cool, what are we gonna do? Cool, COVID hits. There's no working events. Brands are doing stuff on social media, which is cool. A lot of people went into doing streaming funerals and stuff like that, because there were a lot of funerals, and I don't blame them. Like, that was easy money. Drop it, chop, swally. And we were like, nah, screw it. We're gonna do behind the scenes for TV shows. Yeah. And in comes in MultiChoice and Mnet, and then we started doing quite a lot of behind the scenes, and we had already started doing stuff with Chedza Pictures on the river, and you know, it kind of bloomed into different things. I remember we did quite a few shows for Mnet, you know, and that's how we kind of like, you know, survived COVID. You know, we kind of pivoted to doing behind the scenes for TV shows, and we made good rack to survive COVID. And then right after COVID, the business is booming, and I'm like, okay, cool, what are we doing now? We need to employ a videographer, we need to employ a producer, we need to employ a full-time editor, we need to add another photographer, because again, now it's summer, COVID restrictions have been, you know, lessened, and we're like, okay, cool, we just grow the team. And from then on, you know, we're able to grow the team from, you know, 4 people to 9 people. And that was just an amazing journey on just taking risks, man. Like, you know, pivoted during COVID. When we came out of COVID, we kept the momentum going, and we were just, you know, upselling on everything that we were doing. If it's behind the scenes, we're doing videos and stills, we're doing interviews. You know, we're trying to get onto doing more social media content for the brands and the TV shows. And then right after that, when, you know, the restrictions were dropped, we kind of boomed.
Looking into the future now as a production company, are you ever looking at being your own version of Chetza? You know? or maybe you're more bomb. Maybe you got the Ilembe budget, you know?
Oh man, yeah, that budget looks nice though. That budget looked nice.
It's so beautiful.
Look, I definitely want to get into long form. or maybe we start with a series or something. But I'm keen to explore where we're going with this, because I kind of feel like we're growing the business where we want to be in the short content format, where we do commercials, we do stuff for socials, and I still want to grow that a bit bigger before we can diversify into doing long form or series, because those things take a lot of time. And I feel like if you really want to play around and be creative in find quirky ways, you can really do quite a few commercials, and there's good money in that, and we can use some of that money to repurpose and put that money into getting a series or something, getting writers to start developing something for us, and then pitch it and see if we get a green light.
How do you know when to pace yourself? Because there's this moment where you peak it. Everything is working. It worked. It worked, but
I think what one must do is never overestimate what you can do. And I think for me the biggest thing is always just knowing when, or just putting goals down and giving myself enough time to reach them. And sometimes it might feel like it's rushed, but I still slow things down, because I don't want to be successful too quickly, because there's steps that you miss. I want to go through each step and see what, hold on, I gotta answer that again. Okay, do you want to ask the question again, Lwazi? Yeah.
How do you know how to pace yourself?
I think the thing about pacing yourself is, being self-aware and knowing that sometimes you may miss steps if you're rushing. And I don't want to miss any steps. I want to take the time and learn as much as I can on the way up, so that I don't tremble, because a lot of people rush for certain things and they're not ready, for those things, and then you just get there and then you don't know how to deal with those successes or how to deal with that amount of money, because you've never had the tolerance to build up to that amount of money. Imagine just getting 23 million rand today, and then you've never had $1 million in the bank. No ways. I would not know how to deal with myself, even if it's the business money, right? And that's why you need to build up by starting by getting 100,000, 2 million, 1 million here, 1 million there. And you're building a tolerance to use the money for the right things, and you're not just landing up with 23 million and now it's almost like a tender and you've never done anything, and the first thing you're going to do is go buy a Ferrari and you haven't written a script yet. Just saying, man. Damn. I'm just saying.
That's what the seventh. Damn. God damn you. Damn. You get the tender.
Yeah.
What happens what would you say? Because for some people, I think sometimes we only diagnose the steps. We never diagnose, we diagnose the problem.
Yeah.
But we don't, I don't know. We only see it from the build up. We never see it from a rare. Like a rare case. Because you find now it's 2023.
Yeah.
If you're watching this 2026, shout out to you. Because now it's 2023, right? Or if you're watching it on Netflix, Showmax, you hear me? So you find yourself that now you just blew up on TikTok. This is connecting, that's connecting, right? I do get the 10K.
Yeah.
Then it rapidly goes to 2 mil.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone at that stage?
I think it's very tricky to give someone that advice at any stage, because you don't know where they come from, right? And this is why I'm saying you got to pace yourself, because if you don't come from a lot of rack, you're going to spend it on stupid things, right? And you want to tell somebody, nah, don't spend your money on this, spend it on this. But that person has never had that amount of money. It's almost like speaking to deaf ears, because this is my first mil. I'm going to do what I want with it. I've never seen that amount of money. I am going to splurge and I'm going to spoil myself. I'm going to get all the things that I was never afforded. So it's very hard to really, because I always say this, if 20 million landed in my account today, I would sort of know what to do with it, because I've kind of built up a tolerance on knowing what to do. But when I first had a large amount of money, I was doing silly things, because I had never had that amount of money. And there's certain things that I was not afforded that I was giving myself, because this is my time. So to tell someone, oh no, spend it on this, spend it on this, like it's just speaking on deaf ears. If you want to save your money, save your money. If you want to spend it on yourself and get yourself nice things, do that. But also be aware that a million might be a million today, but tomorrow when you spend 100 rand, that's, you're no longer sitting on a million. You just need to be smart about what you do with the money. Like, I can't tell you like save your money, do this, but it's just like, just be smart on how you save it. You can spoil yourself, do what you want, just be responsible with what you do with that money, because once it's finished, and you're not guaranteed another million.
So the malining is a problem.
It definitely is.
It's a problem. Oh my God.
Big Zulu and friends didn't tell you that, Ogenze Malining can definitely come with big responsibilities.
Do you have any creative dreams besides this point you've gotten to?
Yeah, I think right now, my dreams is just to grow what I'm doing, man. I'm still trying to learn a lot of things. I don't think I know a lot about what I'm doing. To someone else looking out, they might be like, yeah, Austin knows a lot about what he's doing, right? But it's also, it's only the little that I've been afforded to learn from different people. I pick up my learnings from, friends that I know in the industry, people that I look up to in the industry or in other industries. But this is not it, man. Like, this is very small things if you really think about it, because what I am afforded right now, or what I know, can always be watered into something else, and that's through conversations with mentors and other people. I would love to at some point be running a fully fledged production company that caters to both stills, commercials, and series, like a bomb shelter. Those are the guys that we grew up watching and looking up to, and now we almost on a not the same pedestal, but they're at an arm's reach. Like, they're at an arm's reach, right? And you're able to have conversations with those guys and figure out how they did it and how they moved around. But also with that also comes your own vision and innovation that you see. Like, every single time at the beginning of the year, I sit back and I look back at what the year previous has been and what we were able to get right and what we got wrong and what we need to fix in the business. And that's the biggest thing, to also know that you need to have your own dreams, even if you're looking at, my favorite company that I look at is Ryan Reynolds, Maximum Effort, right? Like, they're so good. Like, Maximum Effort is effortless at content creation, but that content creation is largely based on Ryan Reynolds himself and his own businesses. And I really love how they do it, and I'd love to figure out more about that. There's a company called The Parallax based in LA, and they do really well live content, and that's the sort of business that I'm trying to get my business to be like. And these are the guys that I'm watching, and they're on two different plateaus, but I try to figure out how can I bridge the gap between the two. And that's my own learning, and that's how I'm going to build my own unique business, by taking two different halves and joining them into one.
I was talking to Jay the other day, and he said something important. It's like, don't start a business if you can't sell it. Do you ever think you'd sell?
Oh, bro. I'm going to say this, but I shouldn't be saying any of this stuff like out loud like that.
It's a safe space.
Look, man, I run my business like I'm ready to sell it at any point, but I don't think that's why I started the business. It has... I don't think I really have the intention now to sell any part of my business, no matter how great or good we are. But I also don't want to end up like Bloomberg. Is it Bloomberg, the ones who were worth quite a bit, and then
Vice?
Oh yeah, I don't want to end up like Vice, where you were worth 3 billion and then you refuse to sell, and then a couple of years down the line you're worth a couple of 100 millions. Like, right, at some point you also want to be able to exit and sit back comfortably and know that you've built something that you're proud of and somebody else is running it. Like, I want my business to be able to run with or without Austin Malema, because that's when you really know that you were able to build something tangible and something to be proud of. It can't only be a business because I'm in it.
Now that you've become Marvel, we're starting to see a lot of DC. How do you feel and deal with all this competition? Because some of it is your offsprings.
Bro, I think one of the biggest things that I love about myself is being able to view everything from the top down. Like, being one of the pioneers of what I've done, I just think that there is nothing wrong with the competition, right? But the thing about the competition is I'm well aware of where most of them are coming or going towards, because we are ahead of them, right?
Yeah.
We're ahead of the curve. And the biggest thing is being ahead of the curve, because it allows you to pivot quicker than the people who are still coming, because they only building up what we've done a couple of years ago, they're doing now. And that gives us the ability to look and see who's coming behind us and what can we quickly change to pivot or change the direction that we headed to, so that by the time they get to the corner where we at, we've already, we're a few steps forward. So when they try to do that, then we're going to move a few steps in a different direction. So I feel like that's the only advantage that one has, to look back and say, okay, cool, I can see 10 people behind me doing a similar thing that I have done. What can I do in front of myself right now to change the direction I'm headed to? I should have just said.
Say what?
Lwazi, I definitely know what you want me to say.
I want you to say it. I need you to say it. Talk your talk. Just once.
Come on, man.
We over 1 hour in. The niggas who made it this far deserve it. There's no sponsor on board. Yeah, but if you're listening.
Nah, I'm just saying, man, like, sometimes you walk so others can run. So we kind of pave the way for them so they can see clearly. So it's all right.
Say you're the daddy of photography.
Nah.
You gotta say it.
Nah.
Just for the soundbite. Just say I'm daddy. Okay, we'll do the daddy's home.
I hate you for
now
this.
at this point where, like, the guys you were like, those are the guys, and like you starting, I'm not saying you're feeling like you're better than them, but seeing that you've allowed yourself to progress to a point where you can say, oh, you achieved those steps. How does that feel?
Look, I think it's amazing to watch. Yo, my biggest thing to do is watch upcoming photographers, man. Like upcoming creatives, especially in the field that I'm in, because I just want to watch what they're doing and how they're doing it and how different it is. And I just marvel at how great it is. Like I love watching these guys, and I'm like, damn, I wish I would have made that move when I was younger. I wish I would have done that. But I'm proud of where the industry has come. Like that's one of my biggest things. Like if you see me on Instagram, I'm probably following like some young photographer with 3,000 followers, because I really fucks with what he's doing and I really enjoy it. And I'm like, this is me when I was younger, right?
Yeah.
So I really enjoy stuff like that, because it makes me proud to realize that what we saw as a dream is achievable for not just myself but someone else as well, and someone who looks up to you and is like, yo, I really want to do that and I can definitely do it. And I'm like, okay, cool, I can see where you're going, I can see how you're doing it. And that also inspires me, because creatively there's a lot that you can learn from the kids as well.
You're doing it.
Yeah,
You're doing it a lot. You're doing it for other people. Other people are watching. Your source becomes the main source.
yeah,
You're doing it so well that it can run beyond you, even when you're not there.
Yeah.
It's like we can identify that you're not there, but the quality is there. At this point of your career, what's your word to the youth?
I think my word to the youth is believe in yourself and what you're doing, man. Like the biggest thing that can ever deter you from starting is not believing in yourself enough. Like it's all vested in you. It's all in you. You put it down on the line. You know what you want, how to get there. You literally just invest the time and literally get going at it. Like, I feel like when I started, I used to say my biggest thing about it is I want to put in the 10,000 hours, and I've put in the 10,000 hours. I've reached more than 10 years now, right? I started doing photography in 2009. So like, I've put in more than my 10,000 hours, and I feel like now what we do is we just sharpen the blade, because you already know how to cut. So where we're going from here, how we're looking at different angles, different approaches. And the biggest thing for me is I'm no longer doing it as a creative. I'm doing it as a business owner. Like, it's no longer just for me. It's about the extension, giving other people an opportunity to come in and show us what they're able to do, to give them a platform to come and show out. Because some of us never really got the opportunities coming up as young black creatives to get a platform to say, yo, you hot, so show me what you got. And then, you know, I grow into that. You know, finding someone who believes in you can instill a lot of self-belief in you to carry on doing what you're doing, and just realize it's not just a dream, it's feasible.
You've been around for teenage years, you know. With you being around this long, you've only done one gallery show. Why is that?
I think there's quite a lot that I learned about my gallery show. Number one, I think during those shows, it's cool to do it if you've got the people who are going to buy the artwork first. Don't just rush into doing a show just because you believe that you're worth it or it's going to be worth it. Like, you invest a lot of money into doing that, right? And I learned that it was great for people to see that you're able to create artistic work more than just lifestyle photography. It was great. We sold quite a few pieces. We didn't sell everything, but you know, there's a learning curve in all these things. You need to really gauge yourself and the work that you have and see if it's worth putting into a gallery show at this point in your life. I feel like, number one, it was too early in my career. Yeah, I was hot at that time, but it was still too early. I feel like I didn't have enough people who were buyers coming in. It was a bunch of cool people that I knew who came in to support and take selfies, and they don't have the buying power, right? And it's not, you know, by saying taking selfies, I'm not looking down on them. It's just that, you know, artists do these things hoping that they're going to sell their artwork and not just have people come in to the opening night or closing night and celebrate with them. That's great. That's great. But you also need a second layer, which is the buyers who are going to buy the artwork, people who are going to put your artwork in their house and really enjoy it. And it's not just about, you know, oh, I did a show and that's that. Like, I feel like it was very early in my career, I miscalculated a lot of things, but from here on you recalculate and you figure out, okay, cool, now I've been doing this for 13 years, what else can I do? What can I do that's different? You know, okay, if I'm gonna do another show, how are we approaching this? You know, one of my friends, Bangy, was like, yo, you know, when you do a show like that, don't just sell the artwork that's on the wall, because not everybody can afford to buy that. You must make smaller items that if people come into the show, they're able to afford something for like 100 Rand, 500 Rand, so that they take away something from your show. And it's not just, you know, them coming in and realizing, oh damn, I can't afford that, so I'm not gonna buy anything. You need to be smart enough to say, okay, cool, I gotta cater to the masses. I gotta cater to the big buyer who's gonna spend like 20,000 Rand on an art piece, and then I gotta do like a small piece that's framed for probably like 5,000 or for 1,000 Rand, so that when you walk away, you're like, okay, cool, I went to Austin's show and I've got something to show for it, instead of just saying, oh, I went to Austin's show and it was dope. And it's like, that's that, you know. Even if it's going into doing merch, like something like merch, keychains, small things that are tangible that someone can walk away with and say, you know what, definitely that was worth my while. And when they look at it, and they'll always remember your show.
Damn. Ivale mfana. Uyena yedwa. Austin Malema, Mpho. You know? The marvel of photography.
Call me the Stan Lee.
Stan Lee. Stan Lee of photography, you know?
Nah, I like Iron Man, bro.
You like Iron Man?
I'm a big Iron Man fan.
Oh, because you got a fly crib too. I'm going to close it here before I say too much.